Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lamb. Today I'm here with Lucy.
Hi.
How are you going?
I'm good. How are you?
How are you feeling? I forgot to ask.
Great.
You feeling?
I'm great. We need to clear something.
Yeah, I know. Do you need a clearing?
I'm feeling really good.
What is a clearing, Lucy?
So a clearing, for those who don't work at Lululemon, is what we do at the start of each day to make sure that everyone's feeling good. And if we have anything we need to clear, we can leave it in that space so that when we walk on the floor, we're our best.
Wow, you are amazing.
Hashtag Lululemon.
I know, we love Lululemon.
Love.
You know what? That's actually been like, I love that aspect of it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's so freeing. And then,
Absolutely.
and the fact that they want you to be like your best possible self on the floor. But
Yeah.
even just like in relationships, it's like setting those boundaries and being like, look,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling 100%.
That's the thing, is I don't even realize, like, I take it out into, like,
Oh,
my own life. Where I'll be
100%.
like, hey, like, I'm just, like, off today. But it's like, I would never have said that before.
Yeah.
I would never tell someone how I'm feeling. Like, that's my thing. Like, I'm not going to tell them.
Yeah.
But, like, now I do.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I just like normalized it in my everyday life. Like, hey, look, like I'm feeling pretty shit.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
like,
Just letting you know.
yeah, exactly. And it's awesome.
It's so nice. And it almost, like, frees you, because then you don't feel like you carry that. Because I almost, like, carry that emotion. But once I've told someone, I'm like, okay, it's okay. Let's just move on.
Let's
like,
just leave it there in that space.
in that space.
Yes.
The clearing space.
We love to see it.
Yes.
Who are you? Why are you here? No, tell us a bit about yourself for the listeners.
My name is Lucy Fitzgerald. I don't know if you knew my last name. I am a performer, so actor, singer, dancer, and I'm currently working at Lululemon, which is how I know you.
And
I'm 23.
Okay,
Sorry.
awesome. Thank you for that context.
That's so fine.
And your life got a lot better.
My day got a lot
After you
better.
started working
the
at
day
Lululemon.
I met Jaden,
Yeah,
my day
I know.
got
I just
so
remember the
better.
day, you know.
I cleared that I was feeling down, and then I met Jaden.
Yep, and then
everything was better.
everything's just been great.
Yeah.
How's your day been? What have you been up to?
What have I done today? Today's my day off, so I slept in a little bit, which was nice. And then I went and got Brad a birthday present.
Oh.
I'm sure this will come out after his birthday, so it's fine.
Yes.
But I got him like a Polaroid camera.
Oh yes, we love that. We need to take a
I was
Polaroid.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
sure.
As you can see behind you,
That.
on the
Oh, yeah.
you're gonna be on that wall.
On the
Hopefully that
wall.
wall is gonna fill up
Yeah.
soon. And
So hopefully he likes it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
that's
love
my day.
like Polaroids and like film cameras and
Yeah.
everything. I think it's just.
I
Like,
love the in the moments. Like we've got
Yeah.
a disposable that we've been filling up, but he keeps being like, oh, I want to like put like stuff around my room. And
Yeah,
I was like,
love it.
Okay.
Love it. We love
Got
an
it.
arty boy.
Yes. Hopefully.
Shout out, Brad.
Shout out Bradley.
Okay, so you're a performer. I guess like let's go day dot. Where did it all start?
Yeah.
The life of Lucy Fitzgerald.
Life of Lucy Fitzgerald. Let's go through it. So I guess my first passion was dance. That's kind of where I started. I started when I was, I want to say about 4 years old. So like back yonks ago. And I started at like a really small ballet school. So it was like very much like probably maybe 100 people at its like peak.
Really? Is that small?
Yeah. For a dance school. It depends. I mean, I guess it changes, but
I have
was
no
like,
I have
you're
no
like,
Just- yeah.
yeah, it's pretty small. Like, and it was very much like recreational. So it was like for fun dance. Wasn't competitive. I did exams, but like not really kind of thing. So that's kind of what I started in. And then I did that. I was there for about, I want to say maybe 10 to 11 years. And I did a bit of jazz, but their like jazz syllabus was like weird, which is like, I guess syllabus I'd say is like a course, like it's an exam kind of thing that you do. But it was like made by my dance teacher, and I think we were like the only school that actually did this one, and it was like weird jazz. Like it wasn't like the jazz that you know, it was like weird jazz. So like that was like my only experience of anything other than like ballet. And I didn't love ballet, but I liked performing on stage, so that's why I kind of kept at it. And then when I got to high school and I started doing like drama and musicals, and I got really into singing as well, that's when I kind of was like, I think I want to do a bit more of like proper dance, because I loved dancing, but I definitely did not have any technique. I was just like, the school was very much for fun, and the styles that I wanted to do were like tap and jazz and stuff. They didn't offer that. So I think, yeah, dance-wise, I then moved to schools in like year 9, and then I started doing like jazz and tap and like contemporary and all these other styles that I hadn't done before, and my technique got like so much better, and that was why I was like, okay, I can actually do this as a career. Like, I want to do it as a career, but it's actually possible because I'm actually getting the skills I need. And then most of my like singing training, I did Australian Girls Choir for a little bit. Shout out to Caitlin Oakley, who also had the podcast, also an AGC girl.
Shout out.
Just getting all the Australian Girls Choir girls on here. So I did that for a little bit, but most of my singing training was at high school.
Cool. I guess why dance? Was it something that your parents just put you in and you started loving, or was it something that you were like, Mum, I want to go dancing?
I don't think I told my mum I wanted to go dancing, but I was a super energetic kid. So I was like very much like, I was just moving. I was a bit hyper. So I think they were going to put me in something very, very physical anyway. And I think my mum always wanted a dancer, and I'm the only girl. So it kind of just worked out. Yep,
stars aligned.
Yeah, but the moment I started, it was like love at first sight. Like, I loved everything about it. I loved being on stage. I loved performing. I was like that kid, you know, there's always those like kids and there's one who's just like giving it their all, has no idea what they're doing. Like, I wouldn't be doing the moves, but I would be giving it my all.
I remember like primary school tapes, like when they'd record the concerts. I think like, I had like a blunder. It was I could just picture you and me being that exact same kid.
Yeah, like at the front, doing my best, like giving it 10 out of 10, but like not quite there. But like the effort,
what? The effort's there.
Was there. Yeah,
and we love that. We love effort.
Yeah, so it was pretty. I think it was pretty obvious for my family that she was going to be a performer, because that was very much my thing. Throughout. That's kind of always what I've done. Which is sweet. Cool.
Yeah. And then I guess like, as a kid, you know, you're dancing. Did you ever think much of it, like, long term?
I think I never thought about being a professional dancer, per se. I knew I never had the natural technique like other girls. Like, other girls in my school had, like, the long legs and the pretty feet and good turnout, and they looked good in a leotard and a bun, and they had that like natural ability where I didn't have that.
Is there like a niche in terms of dancing? Like, would you say
a little bit, if
that stereotype, or
for sure. And I think it depends on the style you do and the school you go to and kind of the environment you're in. But especially because I started with ballet, I'm not a ballerina. Like, I'm not elegant and fluent and light on my feet. Like, I'm pretty sure I got called an elephant multiple times by teachers. Not in like a look wise, but from the sound, because I would like jump and I'd be like doof, like on the ground. So I was like a power dancer. Like, that's kind of what I was.
Right. Give us a rundown of like particular styles, because I'm just completely foreign to this concept, like ballet, and that's it. That's it. I wasn't even gonna list. I'm not even gonna list.
So obviously ballet, that's kind of like the core of all dance styles. It originated like in France back in the 18, maybe, I don't know, I'm making up numbers, but like long time ago. And that's the one that like you'll see girls on like point shoes and tutus, and it's very slow and elegant and fluent and really pretty, and that's like very much about technique. And what I mean about technique is like really pointed legs and feet and great turnout, so like their hips and like turnout and flexibility. That's kind of like the main thing of that. Storytelling is obviously a big part of it, but what they do to tell the story is through their body. That's kind of what their main area thing is. And then jazz is more of like, if you see, how do I explain jazz? Jazz is like, if you see like musicals, and you see a lot of like the dance routines from that would be taken from jazz, in terms of like really, it's a bit more hard hitting, a bit more sharp, a bit more like in your face, high energy. It's like fun. I love jazz. It's fun. It's all about like big jumps and big kicks and turns and like cool shapes. You can like really be like, you can really play around with like the shapes of the body, and it's also about performance. And that's why I think I liked that is because I like to use my face, and that was what I could do, is like no matter what was happening down here, I could have like nothing going on down here, but I could like make sure no one was looking because they were just like looking
focus
at my
on
face.
Your face. Yeah. And would you say like with your styles and like people who choose, I guess, could we call them disciplines? Would you call them?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Would you say certain personality types fit certain things, or just is it?
See, I would say yes, but then I have like one of my closest friends, she is a professional dancer, and she is quite like reserved, quite quiet, but she's like a hard-hitting like hip-hop dancer. So
it's just like as soon as you go onto the stage, you're a different person.
She's just like a different person. She's really good at like contemporary and like being really like sleek and like stuff. So in that way, that probably matches her personality. But then in another way, she's just like grinding out and like, whoa.
Go off, queen.
But I guess like you could say that like certain people would. A lot of you, if you see a professional ballet dancer, they're very disciplined people. Very disciplined. But that's because that's literally what it is. It's so strict. And if you're professional and you're going that hard, your teachers are like strict.
Yeah. I guess you grew up doing ballet. What was your experience like with like teaching and stuff? Was it very, oh gosh, like lots of wrist slaps and that sort of stuff?
A little bit. Yeah. I wasn't the best student. Not because I like was like, oh, I don't want to try. I could not concentrate. Like, I wanted to do other things. Like, I didn't want to have to sit there and like stand at a bar and you know, do a slow like exercise. Like, I wanted to like run around and jump and do and chat to my friends and like look in the mirror. So I was always getting told off. I reckon I remember my mum saying that my teacher once had to bring cardboard boxes in and like and like covered the mirrors because I wouldn't stop like looking in the mirror and being like la 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 la. So like, and I would always get kicked out of class. So ballet teachers and I did not.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mutual understanding that it was just didn't mold. But yeah, so ballet is not my thing. But
would you say you have like certain role models that you would look up to in terms of dance, and like what's that scene like? I guess what has that scene been like in terms of like gathering inspiration for your own dancing?
I think I always looked up from people I don't know but like I really admired. A lot of them, and I think this is why I kind of wanted to go in that field, a lot of them were music theatre dancers or performers. So people like oh my God, I'm blanking on names right now, but like even like choreographers like Fosse and people like that, where they had this really unique style and it was very much linked to music theatre specifically. So I think that's why I always kind of geared toward, I was like, I like that. That's what I want to do. And when I'd see shows, I would sit there and just be like, oh my God, I want to be there. I want to be there, like right there. And then like with the dancers at my dance school when I was younger, the ones who were really like had great performance quality and would be like memorable because they're on stage and their like face and their performance was just like out of this world. I was like, can I be you? Like I would be like obsessed with them. Like I'd be like, oh my God, they're coming through the dressing room. Oh my God. Like I would literally freak out. Yeah.
I guess taking that obsession, and obviously you took inspiration for it in terms of your career direction. What was that like? Because I know like you have the stereotypes, especially at like, I guess I go to Melbourne Uni, people are like, oh, we do like biomed and commerce and like law and all these like high earning jobs, you know, and then arts just always cuts like the biggest flack. Like everyone's like, fuck art students or like damn art students. I guess growing up and like expressing your passion for dancing and wanting it to be a career pathway, what were the people like around you?
I will say I think I was pretty lucky where I had a good support system around me where I never felt like I couldn't do it, if that makes sense. Like I never had someone like super close to me, like a parent or like a friends or like anyone like that who was like, you can't make this a career, you're not allowed to make this a career. It would be more like outside people, so like teachers or like other other further away relatives would be like, oh, but like, what are you really gonna do? Like, that's not really a career. And you're like, well, it is, but like, it can be if I choose to make it a career. So yeah, I think I was lucky because the main people who I needed that support from, they were the ones who were like, do it. Why not do it? And like my oldest brother's also a performer. So I kind of could watch him do it. And I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
obviously, and like I'd already seen that kind of approval from my mum of like her being like, yeah, go chase your dreams for him. So I was like, okay, this is something I can do. Like, that's fine. But yeah, it's just more of that. Yeah, I'm so sick of seeing like when like arts budgets are cut and all this. Like, it makes it hard to be like, how am I meant to make this a career when like everyone around you is like, not really a career, like not, or like in VC, like all the subjects I wanted to do, they were like, yeah, but it has to get marked down because it's not really a subject. And I was like, well, if you ask someone who does special to go up on stage, I doubt that they would be like, yeah, let me do a whole monologue by myself. Let's go. Like, everyone has their niche, their thing, but it's, I think people look down on it. Yeah,
and it sucks to see, like you said, in VCE, like the priorities on maths and languages is like
big one.
Has always been like a grey area for me because it's like, this is hard to do, but so is dancing, so is creating like scripts and stuff for dramas and portfolio subjects. Like I would, back in year 12, I'd be like, why would you even like do that? Like, why would you put yourself through that? But it's like, that's something they're passionate about, so they want to do that, and then they just get pretty much like obliterated at the end with their final scores. Like, they get marked down 12.
And that was the big thing. It was like, the reason I'm doing this is because this is what I'm passionate about. And for me, because the unis and the schools I wanted to go to, I didn't need my ATAR. So I was like, well, why am I going to do things that are going to bump up my ATAR but that are going to cause me so much stress when I can do something that I actually know I'll probably do better in score-wise anyway? And ironically, I did end up doing score-wise better in all of those subjects because I was like, well, why wouldn't I do that if that's what I actually want to do? But it is like, all my friends who did like portfolio subjects, oh my gosh, the amount of work they'd have. And like my drama solo had to be, they literally gave us a piece of paper that had like stuff that you had to add into it and said create a whole performance from it and then like analyze it. And you're like,
and it's like if is it VCAR? Yeah, VCAR. The administrator, and if they don't place like importance on it, it's like, I don't know, how is the industry going to progress at all?
Exactly.
And now what I'm starting to understand is like people have their own niche, and it's sad to see that because they have this niche that they can't be rewarded for it, and they end up choosing subjects like methods because you get bumped up 6 or 8, and that becomes a prerequisite for like a lot of things, or like chemistry, and that gets bumped up as well, or like choosing a language, and it's like people just choose language for the sake of it, but they don't choose something that they're passionate about.
And then when they leave, all those skills, they never actually use it.
Yeah, and they're not as transferable as people make them out to be.
You spent like 2 years or whatever on these subjects that when you leave, you're not going to touch them. Yeah. You've just learned a language that you'll probably never use, or you've just done a whole thing of methods and you're never going to use that because what is that going to do for the career you actually want to do? So it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, well, it doesn't make sense for me to do things I don't have any interest in doing. So I was like, I'm just not going to do it. I was like, that's fine. Bump me down. I do.
Yeah.
Like, see if I care.
Was there a point where you did reconsider, I guess, like career trajectory, or have you always been pretty steadfast with like what you're going to be doing?
Honestly, no. I think the path in the industry that I want to take, I've changed a few times throughout my life. Like when I was a little, I wanted to be a dancer. And then as I got older, I realized that like I wasn't as good as other dancers. So maybe being a straight dancer wasn't my thing, but doing like music theatre was. And then at some point I was like, no, I want to be a movie star. So like the actual area in the performing arts has changed, but I don't think there's ever been a moment where I was like, I can't do that in high school. There's been a few moments outside of like nowadays where it, like being in the industry that I was like, and maybe I should be a teacher or something like that. And
I guess we'll definitely dive into that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask in terms of like growing up as well, and like you said, other people are better, or like I don't know what I guess qualifies you to be better, but I'm sure like as a dancer you like know what you're looking for. How did that make you feel, and I guess fronting those matters, like watching those people be selected because they were subjectively better than you?
I think it's definitely something I'm still working on, and I don't think it's anything that most people ever just be so like okay with. Like I don't know if I can meet someone who'll be like, yeah, I don't get any sort of like feeling against that, but I think for me it's been something I've really had to work on a lot because I'm very hard on myself, and that's kind of like a big thing that I've always been like, well, I think everyone's their hardest critic, obviously, but like that's like almost to the point of like I literally would be like, no, you suck, like why are you even doing this? And it's just like, it's so like, it doesn't help anyone, it doesn't help me, it just like if anything it like only like hindered me. So I think that's kind of been the biggest thing, is like I've almost been like, I can see that someone's better than me, like in technique wise and stuff, and it's like an obvious thing, but seeing that I almost take like too many steps backwards where I start to jeopardize what I'm actually good at because I like am jeopardizing and like sabotaging myself because I'm like, I can't do this. Why would I even try? Because they're obviously better than me. But it's like, yeah, I'm not like, I don't put myself just at it. I don't say, who cares? This is what you are good at. I'll be like, no.
Have there been any, I guess, improvements in terms of that space? I know you're still working on it, but what have been some things that you've tried that have sort of worked in regaining that confidence or continuing to believe in yourself?
I've improved, like it's improved so much. A lot of it is going to therapy, but a big part of it is, like I think slowly learning to like love, it sounds so lame, but it is like that self-love of like learning.
We love cliches.
We love cliches. I think, but there's no really
like
how else to say it.
Yeah, like. There's like I think cliches. Everyone's like, oh yeah, like we get it. But I think sometimes, well, actually, most of the times there is a basis. For it, and
absolutely.
There's like a grounds for why cliche is there. Yeah,
and it's like, I need to be able to start seeing what I'm good at and putting that as my first like point of call in those moments. So like in auditions or being like cut or things like that, rather than what my old mindset would have been was to go straight to, this is everything you did wrong, this is why you didn't get the job, it's because you suck, you're terrible, whatever. And it's changed that mindset to, this is what you really did well today. Maybe it wasn't your day, but you can be proud of like these moments, which I have already started to put into practice, and I'm proud of myself for that, because it's like little steps that matter.
We love that.
Because your mind's a weird thing, and like you would think you'd have more control over it does, but it just goes off on its own, and it's hard to like stop it once you start getting into that habit of these mindsets and these language that you talk to yourself. But yeah.
How would you say therapy? You did mention therapy. How would you say that has played a role in your life?
I think like it done like a massive 360.
She went right back.
A massive 180 is what I was meant to say. See, maths isn't my thing. I did not do methods. No, because I mean I was not this sounds terrible, not anti-therapist for other people. I was very much, I think therapy and like mental health in my family just wasn't really a thing that was talked about. It was very much just like a no-go kind of thing. Not in like a bad, it's just, I think that's just the culture of like kind of my parents' time as well. It's just you don't talk about it. So I was very much like, I don't need therapy, that's fine. I can deal with it myself. And my way of dealing with it was this like self-talk against myself, because I was like, oh, I'll just have a go at myself when like things go wrong. But since starting, I've done, you can actually do modules on self-esteem. It's so random.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my like therapist literally has me doing these modules every week or two or whatever that I see her, and like of going through and like writing out my first thoughts of things. So like a situation, and then being like, this was my first reaction. This is how like anxious I was at the time. This is my like first like how I reacted. And then you start to like actually analyze that and be like, okay, but how
what can you control?
What can I control? What can't I control? What's different language I could say instead of saying like, oh, you're stupid, or you did this wrong or whatever, or like you're not talented, things like that. It's like, what's another way I could say that to myself in a more constructive way,
productive way,
productive way that actually gets things done. And it's just like being able to see it, I think, out in front of you. You're like, why have I exhausted my mind with this like such like unproductive language for so many years.
Yeah, sometimes you need to take that third person perspective as well and just sort of just step back from it.
Yeah.
Come back to it.
Yeah.
You know, like I think a way that would relate is I guess doing VM or visual merchandising.
Yes.
Like to bring it to like I guess like hands-on tasks.
Yeah.
Like sometimes your hot wall or like the wall that you're putting product on doesn't look the best and you're really like just stuck on putting products. You want to get it done right there and then. Same as like how you might want to like reflect right there and then and just critique yourself. Take a step back.
Yep.
Do a few things and then sometimes the thoughts sort of flow back in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was I don't know where that came from, but
I like that because I do that as well, where I try to relate it to things that like I understand. So I like get why you did that because it's like bring it back to something how you can like say it in a way that you'll be like, oh, I get it. This is more of a relatable situation for me, so I'm going to use the same topics. Yes, I get it.
Yeah,
I do that. I love it.
When did you, I guess, break that stigma or like that stereotype of I don't need this? Like I'm not that you're stronger or like better if you don't need therapy. Yeah. When did that all come down?
Honestly, last year. I think coming out of uni, I like that year, and we were still in and out of lockdown, so there was a lot happening. It wasn't my best year, I won't lie. And I think because I'd had a pretty terrible experience with therapy, like when I was 16, I tried going and the lady literally was like, "You're just a drama queen," and sent me on my way, which it blows my mind that someone who's a licensed practitioner could even say that to someone.
Yeah, so the fact that she could even get their license in the first place is
just insane, and also was a youth psychologist. Like that was her thing. Which
no way.
Just so funny.
And that's like why people are so terrified of like going to therapy. It's like it's already a hard enough job to like I hate using the language like own up and like step up and stuff because it should be normalized. Like therapy is, I think I personally haven't done it, but like I've used hotlines and like and email chains and those sorts of things, and I think it's so beneficial to like vent and have someone who won't have any judgment and won't affect like a relationship or anything in your life.
Absolutely.
To just talk to.
And that's what I think it is, and I think that's why that kind of just triggered, like was just like for so many years, because it was meant to be like this one person that like the things that I had told my parents or other people, they'd be like, oh, like you're just, because like I used to get a lot of what I found out now was anxiety attacks a lot of the time, and because my first point of call was always to cry and things like that and just like panic and just completely shut down, and most people were like, oh, you're just a crier, you're just emotional. And then finally to have this person who's a licensed, and I was like, okay, they can help me, and she goes, I think you're just a bit of a drama queen. And I was like,
and how invalidated did you feel? Like, I can't even imagine how I would have felt.
I felt crushed because I think a part of me was always like, maybe I want to see someone, but because like I was 16 and my parents were more against it, I was like, oh, that's fine. And then finally, I think it was actually my dad who was the one who was like, oh, why don't you go see someone? So I was like, I felt like this weight come off my chest of like, finally. And then it was just like 10 pounds got added back on, and I was like, never mind, it's fine. And the problem was that then those habits, I just continued, and I took into uni where I was surrounded by people, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I went to an arts uni, so that was just around people who are good at the same things I were good at, and were like the best in high school, and now we're all the best in high school in this one room. So like that self-doubt was just like and just increased until it just kind of imploded last year. And I was like, nah. And then it was like actually some of my friends who were like, I think you need to see someone. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what.
Well, yeah, it's amazing that like your closest support networks, like friends and family, were the ones to recommend you, because I guess they can see from an outsider perspective and understand how you're feeling, not to the extent that you might be feeling internally, but they can definitely see, and I'm glad that your friends are able to swoop in and help diffuse that situation.
Yeah, I am too. I think as well, because I thought I was good at hiding it, and I think that was the first like kind of like opened my eyes a little bit of like, this is starting to trickle into like other people's lives. Like this isn't, you're not keeping this just with yourself anymore. Like it's actually starting to like trickle into like the people you love's lives. So that was kind of what made me be like, okay, well, if everyone else is noticing it, then I actually do need to do something, because that's just not it.
Yeah. What's it like, therapy, for people who might be considering or in a position that you were, unfortunately?
I love it. It is like so I usually do it once every 3 weeks. Shout out to Karen. Love Karen. I love it. It's literally like you said, like I just sit down. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll feel anxious, and I'm like, why? And it's because I feel like I have nothing to talk about, because it's like maybe I've had a good week. So I'm like, oh, like I'm trying to think of things to talk about, and I'll go in. I'm like, oh, like she's like, how you going? I'm like, yeah, like I'm actually good. She's like, great, that's good. And then we just start chatting about my day, and it's like you don't have to talk about something bad every time. Even it doesn't have to be like the world is ending, my life is over, like like it doesn't have to be that. It's just like talking to her, and then throughout that, like little worries might come up or things, and then we might dissect that, and you just leave kind of being able to be like, like I got like everything
a clearing
out. Yes, it is literally it is a paid clearing with someone that whose life isn't affected by what you say and what is happening. And because that's, I think, like you said before, like it's just a way to not put that on other people, which is not, and it's not bad to do that. I think it's important to talk to your friends, and I do that, and I talk to my partner. But at a certain point, like if you're just always putting all this on them, that's a lot to put on someone whose job isn't to analyze it, and like then they have a personal connection with you, and they are affected, and they have that empathy against you, not against you, with you. So it's nice having someone that you can just talk to and then leave.
Yeah, exactly. And just no strings attached sort of thing. No
strings attached. Just like, and they have your best interest at heart, because
definitely,
their job is to help you improve. It's like a doctor. It is a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an amazing point that you bring up, and I guess people have that connotation of, oh, when I go to therapy, it always has to be bad. No, I don't think at all. Like, you can go in and have the best day of your life that day, and chat. Like, I'm sure you've started to have those days as well, and just being like this was amazing, like this is working out, like friends, family, relationships, myself, like my own career, like all blossoming. Like it's so fun, and the what like I've started to realize is like not to emotionally dump on friends and close ones, because while yes, they're there to support you, they have their own lives as well.
Exactly.
It's not fair to put the onus on them to sort of make your life decisions.
It's almost like you dump it on you and you're like, I feel so much better. And now they're like, oh man, what am I supposed to do with this? Yeah, like exactly. It's there's no judgment as well, because they don't know your life. And you don't, I think that's the other thing is like, you don't actually have to tell your whole backstory. If you want to, you can. And if that's relevant to what you're talking about, but you don't have to go in and be like, it started when I was born and this is everything that's ever happened in my life. Like, you could come and be like, I've got a job interview next week and I'm a bit nervous about it. Can we talk about some ways? She's helped me run an email before because I didn't know how to word it. And she was like, here, let's do it together. So it's like simple things like that. But it's just having that person so it's just disconnected from your personal life.
Yeah, I think that's
it's so important.
Yeah, that's such a huge like conflict of interest in terms of like you tell a story about someone, might like just scatter and I don't even want to think about it.
Like, you tell one person, you're like, well, no, where's that going to go? Whereas like, I don't think my therapist is going to go tell someone anyone about things. Then I'm going to tell Jaden about everything I've said about him. What? This is awkward. Jakes.
Talk to us about uni.
Yeah.
You graduated high school doing the subjects that you love, and I really respect that. Now I don't hold this position where I'm like, oh god, like they did art subjects and stuff. In fact, like I almost respect like.
Oh, thanks.
You went extra. No. I respect people who do their portfolio subjects, because I can just imagine like the amount of fucking work you have to do and just to be marked so harshly. Whereas like, I don't know, I mess up a methods question halfway through. If I use the same numbers, I still get the same marks for the rest of the question. It's just like,
boof.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then I score like
you're like nice.
Like I score and then I get rewarded for it. But then you, I don't know, fuck up a line or something on your art portfolio. They're like, this actually represents, you know, negative connotations.
And it's like, again, it's based on like their interpretation.
Exactly.
It's not a yes or no. It's literally them being like, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it's so 0. Like that's their thing. Yeah.
And even with like dancing as well, it's like, oh, you did a misstep here or something. You know.
Yeah.
I just. I have respect for you. So you graduated. You're at uni.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was some of the best and worst times of my life. Because I did, so it was a 3-year bachelor of music theatre. So it was full-time singing, dancing, acting, everything in between.
Where were you?
Ballarat.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. And you had to move?
I had to move. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So straight out of high school. I think it was a good decision, but it was also like the most overwhelming decision.
Yeah, I've heard so many people or podcasts talk about how good of an investment like moving out is. Like you learn so much about yourself.
You do.
Also traveling and moving out, like you learn so much about like how to time manage, how to like money manage everything.
And I think it's like, and especially if you don't have a few like, because I went straight from high school where obviously everything's done for you in both your school and home life. Like you go home to a family where you get dinner cooked for you, your mum does your dishes and like your things, you do chores, but the main things that you don't think about are just done for you. And then you go to school where you've got a schedule laid out for you, have lunch, dinner, or whatever, dinner,
recess,
and like lunch, and like everything's just kind of done for you. Like it's, you don't realize like how flowy your life is until you're like
unflowy.
Unflowy. So I did res for a year, which is a good way for me to meet people. I was so...
What is res?
Residence.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I always forget to
say
you're
okay.
Sometimes.
You're okay.
So that's like uni residence.
Yeah.
Because I managed to, even though I didn't need my ATAR, I managed to have a high enough ATAR to get a partial scholarship. So I got to live on res for free. I was like...
I know, go Lucy.
Go with my drama score. Thank you. Even though I got marked down, I was a point away from 40. And then it got marked down to 7. I'm still... It's okay.
We
won't talk about
it.
It's like 5 years out of high school. I need to let it go now. It's done. But yeah, so I lived on res for a year. It was a good way for me to meet people because I also did not know anyone. So I didn't have anyone that I was going with, like there with, or even just like a mutual. Like I didn't know a single person, which was
How
scary.
daunting was that?
I hated it. Yeah. It was so scary. I always I have trouble meeting new people as well because I get really nervous. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Wow, that's so weird. I could never think of anyone who would
I'm not awkward at all. What are you talking about?
That is so scary.
Yeah. So to move. So not only, it's not like I could meet these people and then go back home and be like, Mum, like I literally was like, oh, well, I'm in a room by myself. This is so weird. But it was really good because you just all and I think because with my course, which is probably different to other courses, there was about 30 something of us.
Oh wow, that's a tiny cohort. That's literally like a school class.
Yeah.
Well, give or take.
Depending on the school, but that is because it's such a niche subject or degree, and it's very much intertwined and practical. It is tiny, so everyone just kind of became like this little family, which was really nice. And I think that aspect I love, and I'm so grateful for, because I literally just gained this second family for 3 years. So that was really cool.
Yes, love that.
Reflecting
on your time there, you come out with what did you get, a degree?
Bachelor.
Yes, we love that. What do you intend to use it for?
What do I do with it?
What do you intend? What are your intentions?
I'm going to put it in a frame and so the goal is still to do professional music theatre. So I guess with compared to other jobs, you can't just take that and go and do some job interviews and be like, look, I have a degree in music theatre. Like if I brought my degree into an audition, they'd be like, cool. Okay, now sing.
Get on the stage.
Now sing. My God, I don't care where you went. So in that way, the actual piece of paper isn't important. It's what you learnt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what did you learn about yourself during those 3 years? I can imagine from what
start?
Fresh 18 to 21.
To 21. Yeah. What did I learn? Where do I start? I think, yeah, I found my, because everyone, and it's weird, if you meet arts people, their like first question, so other people's questions probably like, oh, what do you do? What do you think? Ours is like, so what's like your order? And what I mean by that is like, are you a dancer, singer, actor, actor, singer, dancer? Like, what's the order? It's like so weird.
Oh my gosh, that's so niche.
I know, it's such a niche thing. And like when I started, I was probably like, yeah, like dancer, singer, actor, whatever like that. But by the end, I think I had kind of gained some skills, lost a few others, because it wasn't really a dance school. Dance was probably its like least kind of thing. Yep. In my uni, I was probably one of the highest dancers, but I probably didn't gain as much technique as I would have if I went to like a dance school or something like that. So I probably like left being like, I'm probably like a singer, dancer, actor. But I think my, self-confidence, going back to it, was just like vroom, 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 because it is quite daunting where like you're very much in a bubble when you're in high school. Because especially like mine, like our drama department was big, but like not massive. Yeah. So like, I was one of the best, and I was like, I was like getting the leads in like school musicals and all of that kind of stuff. I was like, like I'm so good. And then I leave and I go to this thing where, everyone who was like the best in high school is in one room. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like,
bit of tea.
The competition is so harsh in here. So I definitely was a bit like, I learnt that I really judge myself against others a lot more than I thought I did. I was always really hard on myself, and that was always an aspect, but I don't think I realized that the other person aspect was such a big thing for me. So I like really started like comparing myself to everyone. And I think second year was probably the biggest one, because that's usually like when they like really push
Ramp
you.
it up, yeah.
And I got the lead in our like second production, but was double cast with like my roommate at the time, who she's like an amazing singer, like she's incredible. And we were playing the same role, and I was like, and I don't think my self-esteem has ever been more in the dumps, because I just felt like everything I was doing, I would just watch her do it and be like, oh, well, that's just so much better. And it's different when you're like up against someone, but you're singing different songs, and it's different, and you can kind of be like, oh, but it's different, so it's okay. Where it's like you're doing the same lines, you're in the same costumes, you're singing the same songs, and even though people would say like, oh, we're not comparing, like you're comparing,
intrinsically like, you're gonna be like
people are gonna have their like favorite person out of the two, which just is life. So I think that was a big one for me, because I was like, well, if I want to do this industry, I can't actually possibly keep this like, oh, I'm not as good as this person thing up, because then it's like, well, you're just going to be complaining the whole time. And I can't sustain that in an industry where it's just comparing people all the time. So I think then, third year was a big one for me of like, so taking a step back and being like, clearing.
Yes.
And being like, okay, what are my skills? What am I good at? What can I hone in to like really work on that and find my niche? Like, what's my niche that I can like kind of use to my advantage? Especially because there's not much unique about me. I'm a brunette, like white dancer, singer, actor. Like there is about 1 billion of us in the industry. So it's not like I can walk into someone's like, I've never seen you before. They're like, I've seen 10 of you already. What's new about you? So like, it's like, what can I do to like find what's unique about me and feel proud about that, so that when I compare myself to others, I'm not comparing it in the way that of like, they're doing this, so I should be doing this. It's like, I'm doing my own thing. They're doing their own thing. We're doing it well, but differently.
Yeah. What would you say your niche is?
I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. But I think
aren't we all?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I feel like, everyone's still finding out their niche, even if it's not for performing.
Yeah. But I think, I really honed in to my, like, because I did Australian Girls Choir, I had like a lot, and I did a lot of choir at school. And I kind of honed into that because I realized that I had kind of a natural knack at like doing, it's called like classical or like legit singing. So it's kind of like, all the like really high soprano-y stuff. So I was like, oh, I can do that. And not many people do that. Cause
like being able to harmonize? Or no, not necessarily.
Yeah, well, yes, but more like think opera singer, but not as extreme.
Okay.
So, like, have you ever seen or heard, like, Phantom of the Opera?
No.
Fair. I don't blame you. But, like, think like opera singer.
Okay.
So that kind of more style, like, traditional, old school, like, stuff. Whereas, like, nowadays, like, everyone does, like, modern, like, music theatre sound. Like, really, like, twangy. I'm saying all these notes. I'm trying to, like, say it in a way that you would understand, but I'm like, twang. You're not going to know what twang is. Belty, loud.
Yes.
Yeah, that music theatre sound.
Yep.
That's kind of what a lot of people have. So I was like, well, maybe I can hone into this more older style that is still around, but because it's not as popular at the moment, that's not what a lot of people are doing. So that's kind of what and then I kind of use that to my advantage, because I was like, if that kind of audition comes up, I'm set. Like, I can do that. I feel confident in that. Whereas that might be where other people find that they have to, like, really work. So still working on it, but that's a niche that I kind of came into.
Yeah.
So.
I wanted to ask, like, how you adjusted out of home. Like, what was it like? At what point in time in your 3 years there did you feel like, I've got this? Like, I've got my life? Oh, no. Or is that...
No, I'm just trying to think. I was like, when did I actually feel like... I reckon definitely by third year, because I lived with 2 of my really close friends throughout second and third year, and luckily one of my friends, Nikita, she's one of my besties, and she's a little bit older, so she had already moved out of home before, so she had already lived out of home, and I think just had a bit more of a mature take on things. So she was, like, in charge of bills. She was almost like my mum, and I could kind of, like, watch how she did things to kind of get an idea of how to set up my life as well. So I think, like, definitely by third year I kind of had it, but it's one of those things, like, even something simple as, like, buying groceries. Like, in first year I was terrible at it, and I had no money, so I could not get a job. I was so silly, and I wanted to keep going back to Melbourne every weekend because all my friends were, like, going partying and going out, and I didn't want to miss that. So I would apply for jobs, but be like, I can't do weekends. And surprisingly, no one hired me.
Oh,
can you believe it? Even though I couldn't do weekdays, and I couldn't do weekends, and they didn't want to work with me. It's so weird. So I didn't. I was living off, like, Centrelink, and I had no. So I would, like, buy groceries, but then, like, the next week I'd have, like, no money. So I'd be living off, like, a tortilla and some melted butter. Like, I was like, I didn't know how to budget. Like, that was something I hadn't thought about before.
And it's not something that's taught at school as well.
It's which is like, so silly.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of, like, learn the hard way of, like, oh, I didn't save enough last week, so
what are you going to do differently?
We're not going to eat much this week. Like, literally, like, or we're going to be like, hey, do you have any, like, bread left? Hey, May, like, I love you. But definitely, and I think, I loved living out of home. Yeah. I would suggest it to anyone, like, even if it's just for a year, like, if you can, just to get that experience, because you learn so much independence. And even, like, now I am living back at home just to save money, and because why not? And but the way I, like, go about things is so different, and I have a lot more boundaries, I think. I was pretty nervous about moving back home and feeling like a 15-year-old again, when Mum's like, why haven't you done the dishes? And be like, oh my gosh, Mum, like, slamming the door and like full, like, teenage moment. Like, I was so worried that was gonna work. Yeah, like, I was gonna be an angsty teen. Like, Mum, go away. But I found that I could, like, voice my, like, boundaries a little bit more, because obviously when you have housemates, like, you'd be like, oh, you know, I'm going to do the dishes tomorrow. I just didn't have time today. Or, oh, I didn't get a chance to get milk. Can you do it? Or if, say, like, you know, if something's dirty and you know it's someone's duty, like, you do at some point.
Yeah, and
be
it's
like,
like,
oh, do you mind cleaning that? So it's like having that way of, like, feeling confident enough in yourself to be like, no, I'm going to set these things so I can live in, like, a household that works for both of us. Which I think's worked for my mum and I, because, like, we're both not the cleanest people. That sounds really bad, but, like, I mean, just, like, we're messy. Like, my room gets messy, the house sometimes gets messy, but we're now voice that, where it's like, I'm really busy this week. Like, I know I haven't done the washing yet, but I will. Or, like, I know my room's a bit messy at the moment, but, like, I will clean it just in my own time. So that, like, even if it doesn't work for their schedule, they know it is in the schedule of things to do.
Well, I mean, I think that's applicable to like life in general.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, yeah, there are like deadlines that you have to meet and stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's in terms of like functioning in like a functioning household, like it's perfectly okay to set those boundaries as long as you're communicating that, and it's just like that's the important thing. You're not just like leaving your shit everywhere and
just be like, I'll get to it soon.
That's yours.
Yeah, and then people like getting annoyed at each other and like passive aggressive energy. So no, it's definitely good. It was a bit rough during lockdown because we ended up, the house we were in was pretty small. But we were like, that's fine. We're barely going to be inside anyway. So we were like, this is so fine. And then like I ended up being stuck in Ballarat for like 2020 pretty much the whole time.
Is this in your third year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was also rough as well because like all of our productions and everything kind of that was like big and was going to like establish us into the industry was like, nope.
Oh, we'll
it's
put
online.
It on hold.
Yeah. But yeah, so that everything got just a little bit squishy, and there was a few moments of like no one talking to each other because everyone had just had enough.
Yeah.
But it's not like that was fine, and we're still friends now. So obviously we got through that little rough patch. But yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask like how, I guess you started at the age of 4, dancing, performing, everything. How has your perception of what you were to other people from the age of 4 compared to now?
Oh my gosh, that's such a big question.
Because I feel like when I talk to people and they've had like a performing background, when you're a kid you don't really care. Like you go out there, you do your thing, not a care in the world, there's no judgment. But then all these people in your life start coming through and rotating, and breakups happen, like I don't know, different friendship groups and different upbringings and XYZ happen, and then boom, you're like this person today because of that. Like how have you changed as a person?
Well, I think I was a very confident kid. Like I said, I loved being on stage. I don't think most kids would just happily walk on stage and be like, I'm here. There's a video of me tapping somewhere with like a wig singing my life out. And again, I forgot half of the dance moves, but I didn't care. And had very much a carefree feeling and personality about me. I definitely lost that. I think being like known as like the drama person or like the very loud like performer person, when you start to become more aware of that, especially through my teen kind of years, like I got embarrassed by it. And I was embarrassed to be like known as being too loud or too in your face. And on stage, I didn't like being on stage as much because then I was worried about what people would think about me. And like you said, it's like the different people that come through your life, like the different friends I had maybe were a bit more like, you know, oh, you perform, that's kind of weird. Like, and then you're like, oh, or like, you know, the people in my year level would like be the ones who were like snickering while you were like singing in choir, and you'd be aware of it. Like you could see it. And it was like, and I think to be a performer, you have to make this decision of like, do I care about what people think, or do I just keep doing it? Because no one's ever, like, it's always going to have that kind of stereotype of being a bit lame and a bit like, oh, you're a performer, like, oh, like you're a bit weird, or like you're too loud, you're too much, you're too in your face, in people's face. So I don't know. I think, again, still working on it. But I'm starting now more, and especially like in like the latter years of like uni and like now, I just don't care anymore. Like it's like almost exhausting to like constantly be aware of like what people think about me, and like, and in this industry, like you're always going to be nitpicked and like pulled apart, and you like I just can't be bothered like caring about what people's opinions are of what I do and who I am. So like I'm always gonna care. Like it's impossible not to care. But I think if like comparing myself to like little like 14-year-old Lucy, who was like so aware of like, what do they think of me? What are they saying about me? Do people like me? What if people don't like me because they think I'm too loud? Maybe people think I'm too like out there and too like in your face. But I was like, well, that's me. Like I can't do much about it. And I would rather enjoy what I'm doing and be myself than, you know, be a quieter, more introverted version of myself that is, you know, just becomes, you know, a teacher or something and and has more of like what I guess I would consider like more of an ordinary life or more of a straightforward life in terms of what people would expect. I don't really want to do like when everyone's like, oh, but wouldn't it be better to, you know, be a teacher or to, you know, do something that's going to make like a steady income and have like more of that like normal like straight line life. And I was like, why am I doing that for you? I don't want to do that. I have no intention of doing that. Maybe I will in 20 years. I don't know. But like I would prefer to just kind of follow my path. Like half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like every time someone's like, so what are you up to at the moment? I'd be like, working. I don't know. They're like, but like, have you got anything planned? I was like, not really. Like, honestly, like I'm just letting it see where I go. Like, I like the journey of just the unknown. Like, I don't know where it will take me. One day I might be on stage or on screen, or maybe I'll be, I don't know, like on a cruise ship. Like, I don't know. And I like that. Whereas I think a few years ago, I would have been embarrassed by that. I would have been embarrassed by the prospect of not having my life figured out. And be like, I'm going to do this and then this and this. Because I had like a 5-year plan. I was like, I'll finish uni and then I'll straight away get into a professional show. And then from there, I'm going to go and be on Broadway and it's all going to work out. It's like, well, that's literally just not possible. Like that's like a 1% person that will have that happen to them. Yeah, I don't think I answered that question at all. No, what you meant. But that's, yeah. I just don't care what people think. I just can't be bothered.
I think that was an amazing take, and I loved where you took that question because that's exactly like what I was looking for. I guess I think it's an amazing message for people to hear, basically, and I think like this is one of the reasons why I continued picking up the podcast because I stopped it in year 10, and then just didn't do it till like I guess after high school, where I was like, what do I want to do with like my life? Like I have no clue. I'm in uni, second year. Yeah. I still don't know whether like I want to intern or do this or work in a big 4 firm and like in, like big consultancy firm, you know, like I don't have my life planned out like a lot of people might seem to have. And I think that message that you just put out there is like so reassuring, and we're all trying to figure out like what our why is, where our why is, like how we're going to get to our why. And,
absolutely.
And it's okay to like lose your direction a little bit. And
absolutely. You don't have to know what you're doing. You have to have it all figured out, which I think, and again, like it's hard for me to see that, but then I'll talk to like other friends from uni and stuff, and when it's like when I hear another person be like, I've got nothing going on, there's nothing happening, it's like a nice reassurance in a weird way, but being like you're not alone, like you're not doing life wrong if everything you have planned isn't already happening. I think that mindset has been so normalized, and like 100% like go for your life, like that's so good that you've got like if your life is on track, like go off, queen. I love you, like let me know what's happening, but it's not, but that they're not doing life better than another person who's still 100%. Figuring it out. I think that's like the most important thing.
100%. And it's like that comparison as well, it's like people have their own lives to live in their own direction to follow, and whether that time comes now or in a couple of days, weeks, years, like all for it, you know, and
just see where it goes.
And you know, we're all gonna make it.
We're all gonna make it. Exactly. I have a new like idea every like second day. Like and, like last week, I just made this rash decision. I was like, maybe I'm gonna move to London and be an actor. Like I don't know. Like maybe I will. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up and be like, no. Nah, never mind. I want to be something else. Like you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you didn't have anything installed, but I guess if you could pick a few things or choose a few things that you're sort of like, oh, maybe. In the past, I don't know, couple days.
I guess the biggest one that, because I think I had written like I have nothing going on, and then it's been kind of a big thing recently. My friends and I have been planning to go to Europe next year. I was like, cool, and then the more I was looking into it, I was like, I've been looking at doing like an acting for like screen course, because that was kind of area that we didn't do much uni, and I was like, oh, I really want to hone into that. And the more I've been doing like auditions for like TV and like ads and stuff, I was like, I like doing this a bit more, I think. just like I don't get as like anxious. Like when I see like a briefing out for musical, it's like my stomach drops. I'm like, like I get so nervous about it. Whereas like I'll see like I feel just a bit more confident in like my ability to like do an TV audition or an ad audition. So I was like,
would that just be like typical advertisements and stuff, or like TV shows?
Like,
or?
you know, like being some person who like dips an Oreo and like eats it. Like it could be something as easy as that, or being on like a TV show or being in a movie. But I was like, well, what's stopping me from like doing a course in like one of the like best like countries to do it in, like, and one
is
of the
that
best
Europe
cities.
or
London. Well,
okay.
yeah, that's not a country, but like England as a whole.
Really
England and America like are kind of the two biggest ones that obviously they're always like coming out with new TV shows and movies and stuff. So yeah, that's probably what I'm like looking at right now, is like maybe doing a course in London for a year or so, seeing where life takes me. Yeah. I've always wanted to go to London. I've just felt like a connection, you know, when you like have a country, like I just feel like I'll London get here and be like, yeah,
this is my country.
This is my country.
Fair enough. Is there anything else you would like to say, or
this has been fun?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what this podcast is going to be about, but it's been a good chat.
No, I really appreciate you hopping on. I hope
thanks for asking me to come.
I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I again really want to reiterate that message of like, you know, you never know where life's going to take you, so I guess don't fall under the pressures of all these expectations that people hold on you. So, I guess people can find you in the show notes. I'll pop all your social medias there.
I'll put all my socials. There's a few singing videos there.
Yes, we love that. But you don't care. And that's amazing.
I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Be sure to follow at Life with Lamb podcast on Instagram. And until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.